All right, we got 5 people so far. Start.
All right. We are live on Facebook.
Oh, it went, huh? Yeah, good.
All right. So I still got a couple minutes before 12, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect. Silence my phone here.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Fair enough. I see me on Facebook on my phone.
All right. Yeah, it's kind of a brain teaser because it's delayed getting to Facebook. I think it's a couple of seconds, maybe like 10 or 20 seconds delay, but it does a trick.
Perfect.
Get my chat up. And the Q&A. And just in case somebody's watching on Facebook and asks a question there, got to get that one up. Perfect. And everybody's starting to roll in. Hi, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Quarantine Tuesday. We're just going to give everybody, we wait a couple of minutes before we get started, make sure everybody's getting, give everybody a chance to log in. I've got Jameson with me from TimeZest. We're really excited to have TimeZest as our guest speakers this week. This is something we're going to try to do at the last Tuesday of every month, is have a guest industry speaker talk about challenges and products and all sorts of stuff. And Jameson has graciously volunteered to be the guinea pig. Just a reminder, we do this every Tuesday at 12 o'clock Central Time. All these meetings will be saved to our YouTube channel if you want to reference them later. We will be back next Tuesday. That'll be a joint session because it's a 5th Tuesday of the month with both me and Rose. We'll be here taking your questions. Just give it a couple more seconds, see if anybody else is going to come in. All right. So we have asked Jameson to come and speak today. Jameson is owner, founder?
Yep, co-founder and CEO. Yep.
Co-founder and CEO of TimeZest. We internally at Baring McKinley have been rolling out TimeZest in the past month, and it has dramatically changed kind of how we operate for the better. And we want to share all of this awesomeness with you guys. All right, Jameson.
Yeah, happy to jump in. Thanks for having me on. So I want to make sure I'm, giving as much value as I can today. I appreciate being invited to be here by team at at Barry McKinley. And I think maybe the best way to start is just kind of give a little bit of a background of myself before I jump into TimeZest and platform. I can answer. I've been around for a long time, and I think maybe it would just be helpful as you run into questions or whatever. Please use the Q&A panel. Happy to answer questions about anything. I started my IT services business in 1995. I joke that I started it when I was 10, but I'm older than I look. So I started in 1995. Ran it for 21 years. So it was 2010. I acquired my first MSP. Acquired 4 of them before I sold in 2016. And the first one I acquired was from a guy named Brad Benner. And Brad had a small MSP in Seattle, like I did. And he had other aspirations. He's a visionary. He wanted to go start building stuff. And so I acquired his company. He moved off to Berlin. And I helped him with some of his other ventures. And the first one, some of you may have heard of it, was Smileback. It was actually Next.2, and Smileback spun out of that as one of the products or ideas he had. And I'm also currently the co-founder and CEO of Smileback as well. Now, ultimately, as he kind of became less operationally involved in Smileback, he kind of started with some new ideas. We brought somebody to generally manage it in Berlin. And his new idea was, hey, we really need a better way to schedule people. So he was really having conversations with a tremendous number of people in the space who were struggling with what it takes to coordinate basically the dispatch function for folks in our industry, right? And we've been around now for a quarter century doing this, or at least I have. And that's always been a struggle, that constant back and forth that happens, trying to coordinate time with clients, whether it's over the phone or remote. And we were just trying to solve the next problem that we could grab. And we saw people using Microsoft Bookings or Calendly or tools like that, but with no integration or links back into their PSA, into the platform, into ConnectWise. And so being a part of the ConnectWise community, and actually I think I'm wearing the shirt on the advisory panel with ConnectWise, we just saw this as a huge opportunity. Even ConnectWise had built their own internal tools. So some of you may have seen historically, if you have a support question with ConnectWise, or you're going to do a partner quarterly call or whatever it is, they have a tool that you can schedule against, but it was pretty clunky. The user experience was not good. Even though it wasn't very good, many partners in the ecosystem were asking ConnectWise, hey, are you going to productize this? Is this something I can buy or install? And the answer was a very crisp, clean no. Which strategically for ConnectWise was the right answer. They really need to focus on the core products and not build all these little other ancillary tools. So again, that appeared to be a really great opportunity for us. So we have this idea. This is about a year ago, and we show up at IT Nation Explore, really ready to present our solution. And we signed up for the Pitch It contest, and we ended up winning Pitch It, which allowed us to get some seed money from ConnectWise and really get this idea rolling. We had about 80 beta customers, a pretty high number of beta customers over last summer, and officially launched. It was like last week of August, first week of September of last year. So it hasn't been long. We're at about 130 customers right now, including, and most significantly, ConnectWise themselves, who've replaced their internal scheduling mechanism with TimeZest. So that's obviously, that's significant. We really endeavored to make sure that this experience was simple to use and worked well for not only all the MSPs out there, but also folks who are needing to leverage ConnectWise as the platform for other things, software, what have you. We also began to expand our use cases beyond just dispatch to anybody who's using a project ticket or a service ticket. So they could think about, if you run your QBR process through service tickets, could we can we schedule those for you? The answer is yes. So we started doing all of these things to basically create a very, very clean scheduling experience directly within the PSA. So we do have some really exciting things on the roadmap that we're continuing to work on, and I'm happy to talk about those too. I will jump in and kind of give you a demo of how the platform works, because I think it's relevant to just queue up maybe some questions. But before I do that, I'm kind of watching. Nobody's kind of flagged any questions yet. Actually, I'd ask you, do you have any, how are you guys using it right now internally at Barry McKinley primarily? What are the different use cases?
So we've got, we're using the URL scheduling. So we've got statuses for each of our technicians. Our challenge is we've got these projects with 12 tickets and we need to schedule all those meetings. So we have a project kickoff call. I flip all my statuses. The user gets all those emails and all my meetings get scheduled and I don't have to do anything. It's great.
That's great. And that was not even part of our initial use case. The URL-based scheduling was something we built out of demand from our clients. So
yeah, but we love it because not only do we not have to spend that time on the schedule or on the call with the client. Hey, are you available this time? Are you available this time? But also those meetings are coming in with the Zoom link, which is huge for us as well, because now all of the admin work is not needed anymore.
Saves a lot of time. Well, why don't I do this? Because I don't have any questions up yet. I'm happy to walk people just kind of through the experience from the MSP, the IT service provider perspective, and then the customer perspective. Then I can even jump into some of the features and things that we do beyond that. Let me share my screen. Let me know if this shows and works well. I just popped it up there. All good on your end?
Yep.
Okay, great. So I'm just going to walk you real quickly through the experience. So you have a ticket in ConnectWise. So this is a new ticket that came in, and this is our sample imaginary customer, Erica at PopZig Consulting, and we have this ticket. I need help with my computer. You'll notice this pod over on the right that says TimeZest. So we made it look intentionally very much like the rest of ConnectWise, but just different enough that you know it's that it's for scheduling. Now, if you self-dispatch and you have engineers doing this work, or if you have a dispatcher who does this work, we've asked so many IT service providers for somebody who pretty much schedules all their tickets, how much time a week do they waste scheduling? Do they spend trying just that ping pong back and forth, trying emails, phone calls, whatever, trying to schedule them? And on average, we usually got about 2 hours, 2 to 2.5 hours a week was the average amount of time spent just trying to set schedule. I know for the account management team at ConnectWise, for example, it's much, much higher than that. For some people, it's a little bit less. It just depends kind of on how their clients work. But as a dispatcher, or if I'm self-dispatching, I'm looking at the ticket, creating notes, doing what you do, setting the status. But from here, if I need to, if I know somebody needs to spend, let's say, 30 minutes on a phone call with this client, I begin making phone calls, sending emails, doing whatever I can to try to coordinate time. Hey, here's the 3 spots tomorrow that are available. Would one of these work for you? All of that back and forth. Our experience that we've created is simply we need to know 2 things. It's from within the ticket. It can work in a service ticket or a project ticket. And you simply choose the resource that needs to work with the client. And it can be an individual or a team. I could talk more about the team piece later, but I'll just choose Guy as the resource, so this individual, and then the appointment type, 30-minute phone call, and I click schedule. And that's the entire experience. You see, I spent about a second doing that, and that replaces all of that back and forth. And that's it. Like you mentioned, for you guys, it's as simple as that. And then I'll show you kind of what happens. I'm going to refresh this ticket, and ConnectWise has been a little slow today. So let's just see how long this takes. Oh, it was quick. That's good. So you can see in the pod that, we created this scheduling request and we wrote this note. TimeZest sent an email asking them for a time. So that's kind of the entire experience that's the workload. You choose the resource and the appointment type and click go. So we just wanted to make that as simple as it could possibly be. But not only is this about efficiency for the IT service provider, it's about a really efficient, clean use of time and good user experience for the customer. So I'll just walk you through that real quickly. So I'm here in Erica's mailbox, and she has this new email. I'll delete the old one. She has this new email. Guy Roger at FipTech would like to find a time. It's branded. It can look like whatever you want to look like. Colors, HTML, completely editable. And then she clicks choose a time. And what we do is we display the first day where there's availability on Guy's calendar. And that's based on ConnectWise Manage. So it's not based on Exchange or G Suite or whatever. It's based on it's deeply integrated and based on the ConnectWise Manage calendar. I can select a different date. So it'll show me all the dates that are available in blue. We detect the time zone, but I can also modify the time zone if I need to. So I could go back to this date and I'll choose 12:30. And then it asks, because it's a phone call, what's the best number to contact you? 555-1212, confirm. And then it says a confirmation email with a calendar invite's been sent. And I, as the customer, can come back to this URL whenever I need to, and I can reschedule or cancel that appointment. So super graceful for them, very easy user experience. I delete the email. You'll notice that I got a second email. Of course, it's entirely customizable. You can build out the HTML, but it's simply a meeting request. I can say, yep, that's the time, that's the meeting. I say yes, and you can see here that it's in my calendar. And of note, it's in my calendar, and I have that link to go back and cancel and reschedule right within here. So the other thing that we find happens a lot for IT service providers is they may agree on a time with a client, but the client misses the call or doesn't know how to connect. So now we've kind of solved that problem as well, because we put that meeting request, they've accepted it in their calendar, they have the information they need right within the appointment, so they can cancel or reschedule right there. And the last thing I think I'd show here is if I read what happened in the ticket. So I haven't refreshed, but I'm going to refresh, and I'll show you a couple things. First of all, we triggered the status. So it's been assigned or responded to, whatever the status is that you want for this board. When somebody confirms a calendar appointment, we want to keep your workflow in place, your SLAs. We want you to track all that correctly. So we trigger that status change. We've updated the pod. We've written another note, even the phone number that they wanted you to call them on. And most importantly, we drop that scheduling record right within Manage. So Guy has on his calendar, and whether it's a dispatcher or him or whomever, it's correctly recorded within Manage, and they know how to go work the ticket. So that's the whole experience, kind of soup to nuts. And what we're finding right now, especially as people are trying to be expense conscious and being really, really diligent about saving time and being efficient, especially during these crazy times that people are working from home. Our usage, I should note, our usage spiked 50% last week. So we are really seeing IT service providers right now having to schedule more. People are setting up, like I think you'd mentioned, VPNs, remote connections. They're doing all these things. They're having to set things up from home, and they're having to coordinate time for availability. And that's exactly what this tool, from a timing perspective, it's been good, because that's what people have been using it for. So I'll pause there, at least for a minute, and see if there's any questions folks have or want to see a little bit. I can run through more, but I kind of wanted to stop there and kind of show people what it does, how it works, and see if folks had questions at this point. Well, I don't see any popping up yet.
Yeah, while those are coming in, can we talk about, like, from the technician's point of view, not only is this ticket getting updated, but I, as the technician, as Guy, I'm getting emails saying, hey, this user scheduled a meeting that's going on, not on my calendar, my ConnectWise calendar, on my Outlook calendar. They're keeping up to date as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple ways we do that. So it gets a little tricky in the sense that most folks use Calendar Sync with Office 365 or Exchange, whatever they're using, right? So most folks have Calendar Sync turned on. When we launched the product, we were sending that meeting request to the tech as well as the client. But then if people had Calendar Sync on and it was working, they would end up with double entries in ConnectWise, right? So they would have both entries there. So we added an option where you can either send a calendar request to the resource that we schedule, or you can just send an email notification that doesn't have a calendar request, or you can not notify at all. So you have all three options based on how you have managed, configured, and if you have Calendar Sync turned on. So absolutely, we do that. You do see it back in my calendar. You're going to see that. Actually, I'm looking at my calendar, but I'm logged in as somebody else. I would have had to go to Dispatch and show you that that it did show correctly on the right calendar there if I go to the Dispatch portal. And I'm happy to also run through kind of some of those more advanced options, how we set this all up. And I will, unless some other questions come in, I'm going to run through a bit more on how we set up the admin panel. What happens if a tech needs to reschedule? So Jason Reed, we just had Jason Reed ask a question online. What happens if the tech needs to reschedule? So what a tech can do is cancel and then reschedule. So I'm going to show you that. I'll jump back into that real quick. I'm just going to note that, hey, here's the ticket scheduled. Let me go back into that ticket. Come on, ConnectWise. Just let it spin for a minute. It'll get there. All right. Professional services. Check remote backup. Where's that ticket? I don't see the, shoot, hold on. I'm going to go back to that same service ticket and I see it. That was it. Service list. I apologize. Sometimes when I'm doing the demo and I'm in ConnectWise, it may not be shocking to everybody, but sometimes ConnectWise can be a little slow. And so we often don't get, it often doesn't update as quickly as we'd like. So let me see why I don't see that ticket here. That is the right board. Shoot. So we do have the ability to cancel, but not reschedule. So the answer is when you see the list of scheduled appointments, you can cancel it and then you can reissue a new scheduling request. So you can't reschedule because you don't know the customer's availability. What you can do is say, I'm no longer available and I need to reschedule. So you cancel and send a new request. It's very, very simple to do. Yeah, somebody actually just told me use recent from the, where's the recent from the drop down at the top
One
bar?
to the right of new.
Over to the right of new, right here. I need help with my computer. Thank you. Huh. All right, that was you telling me that. Thank you. So I have this pending. Request, and we just have to wait for it to come on. ConnectWise. My favorite thing about doing demos of our platform is waiting for ConnectWise to load. While I'm waiting for it, I'm going to jump over into TimeZest, which is working fast, and kind of show you a little bit more here. So this is our dashboard. This is our admin console. So all your techs, they won't have logins into this necessarily. It's only your admins that come back into this platform. And if I click on the logo on the top, you're going to see I have this dashboard, and it starts with, I need help with my computer. This is the one we just created 8 minutes ago. And if I click on it, you get a pretty thorough view of exactly what's happened along. This is like an audit trail of what happened with that ticket. When did the ticket come in? What's the duration? What does this request look like, this specific request? So you can see who created it, if it was a dispatcher or the same individual when they viewed it, all of these good pieces. Go back to that service ticket. So I just wanted to show you, I'm going to jump back because this loaded. Here's the scheduling request. If you need to reschedule, you can simply click cancel over here and cancel it. And then you can schedule another resource. It could be yourself again. It could be a different appointment time. So note, in a specific ticket, somebody may spend time with a client, and then maybe you have to you have to have somebody else now spend time. You escalate the ticket, and somebody else has to do a scheduling request. So we have you can do multiple requests within a specific ticket. You can cancel this one, schedule a new one. So that is there. Just wanted to show that real quickly. So I think we've got that. Let me go back to the admin portal. So you can see the audit log here. You can add administrators very simply. You just invite a new administrator, and then they have access to this portal for your tenant. Let me walk through appointment types. So I'm going to start with the phone call I just went through. So here's an appointment that was scheduled with this is an appointment type. So you can create as many appointment types as you want. You name it, you give it a URL slug. So Will, this is relevant for you. You're using URLs we generate. There's really 3 pieces of information we need to know to create a scheduling request. What's the resource? What's the appointment type? And what's the ticket number? So this is the appointment type, and you can create unique slugs for each of those. What's the duration? Do you want it to show every 15, 30, or 60 minutes on the calendar? And then here, for some folks who pre-dispatch, you might dispatch a bunch of tentative tickets. We can ignore tentative schedule records and schedule right over them, or we can view those tentative records as busy time. You get to choose that. Do you want to allow clients to cancel, reschedule? Some pretty obvious things in here. Ask for a phone number or not. These come from ConnectWise. When we schedule the appointment and we drop it in the calendar, do you want us to record it as an in-house? What's the service location? And the default in-house off-site. You may have others. And is the status firm or tentative? Most people choose firm, obviously, because you have a client choosing the time. It's likely firm. Minimum notice. Don't surprise me with an appointment that's a minute from now. I might not get the notice and be ready. And scheduling window. How far out can we schedule? I don't want it 3 months from now. Schedule it within the next week or whatever. Buffer time, before and after appointments. And then you can choose your emails. We create a default email for the notification, the confirmation, which includes the meeting request, and then cancellations. And you can completely customize those. I'll go through that in a moment. I do notice I've got a couple questions. I'll get to those in a moment. Let me run through the admin stuff first. So I had mentioned, actually, I'll hit members first before teams. So members, you activate, we pull all the members that you have in ConnectWise into this list, and you simply activate who you want to license or allow scheduling for by toggling this. A dispatcher may not need to be active, but they could still schedule on behalf of other resources. So any resource that you want to be available is who you activate and license. So again, this is Guy, who we used in our demo. I'll click on configure. There's this URL slug. We talked about this. A new feature, we can now create what's called custom attributes. Will, I think you said you're using this for their Zoom link.
Yeah, we've got all our personal Zoom URLs in there.
Yep, and I think ConnectWise puts their personal WebEx URL. So whatever that might be, you could create phone number for the member. You could create a URL for whatever their remote access tool is. So is whatever, and then you can leverage those the values of these attributes within the emails and confirmations you sent out. So boom, click here, go to Zoom, and we're ready to go on our call. And then we pull time zone availability and holiday schedule for each member. You can leverage what's already in ConnectWise. Most of our clients do. If you need to, you can also override that within TimeZest. Now I'm going to jump to Teams. This is another resource time. You saw my pull down menu. I'll flip over here. Not only do you see the individual active members, you don't see the inactive ones, but you also see some teams in here. Those are just another resource type. So let me hit that real quick. You can create a team that's an existing service team or project team from within ConnectWise, or you can create your own custom defined TimeZest team. Now, if it's a service team or a project team, we're dynamically updating it, syncing it with, you manage that in ConnectWise, right? So if you add somebody or remove somebody of your service team, we're going to add them or delete them here. And then once you have a team, we have, they need to be licensed. So I'll go into the consulting team here. They need to be active in TimeZest for us to look at their availability and schedule against them as an active resource. So you have the team, you have the URL slug again. This is important. What we're doing is, like, let's say you have 10 people on a team and the client sees their universal availability. If any one person's available in any time slot, the client sees it as available. They choose a slot and 5 of those 10 people are available. How do you want TimeZest to assign that schedule record to the right person? You choose the algorithm we use, the round robin or maximum availability. So you choose how you want us to drop that schedule record. How do we select which team member gets that ticket if you choose the team as a resource? URL-based scheduling, we kind of went through that. You've created these URL slugs. It's real easy for me to come in here and say, okay, if Guy does a 30-minute phone call, here's the URL. I can just drop this in a workflow email, and this is exactly what Will's doing. He has a resource and an appointment type. All he needs is the ticket number, whether it's a service ticket or project ticket. You can add that in with your workflow rule, use the email, and throw that link right out, and the client can schedule against it without even having to manually go in there and create. You're triggering it with a status.
Yeah, it's a status email.
So he's doing status email and just triggering this, dropping the URL right in. It's beautiful. Counts and billing, pretty straightforward. Name, subdomain, we use subdomain, so it's fiptech.timezest.com. Branding, drop in your logo and your primary color, pretty straightforward. We allow people to use their own outbound SMTP server. About half our clients do, or you can use ours. I'm going to hit down here. You can use a single email or individual email addresses, but here's what we talked about before, Will. Send the member a confirmation with invite, without invite, or not at all. So you can completely configure that. I'm going to point out right here, we have these default templates that you can't change, but you can create whatever you need. So if you want to create like a notification, you can build your own HTML soup to nuts. And here's all of the variables you can drop in from TimeZest, so you can build your email soup to nuts. And these below this line are all of those custom attributes that you've created, which I'll just show you real quickly. We have one here. It's the WebEx URL. Will's is Zoom URL. It could be phone number. It's super, super simple to create. You just name it, describe it, and say if it's a string or text, and boom, you can put those into emails as well. Last couple things. We have a reminder feature, and what this does, you can have up to 2 reminders. If you've sent a scheduling request and the client has not responded, you can set up to 2 reminders for them. Hey, don't forget, you need to schedule 30 minutes with us so we can help you on this ticket. And the final thing I would show you here is per board. I'll go into professional services, the main one. I showed you during the demo that once a client confirms the time that they want to schedule, we will trigger the status when they schedule, so to maintain your SLAs. We also, if the client cancels, we can trigger a new status, whatever that is. And if the client, and this is new, if a client doesn't respond after a certain number of minutes, hours, or days, we can trigger a no response status. Like it could be a close, you might want to auto close the ticket. That's what a lot of our clients are doing, which is great because it can maintain your workflow and SLA.
So with that no response status, is that like managed where it's SLA hours or just calendar hours, days?
Yeah, I believe this is SLA hours. I would have to verify that. I think it's SLA hours, but that's a great question. And we could, and if I drop into help.timezest.com, by the way, we've built this out pretty well. We can grab those details here. I should know the technical answer to that, but I'm pretty sure it's SLA hours. So we can get into a lot of the a lot of those details from our help file. So please leverage the help tools if you kind of get into the platform. We've done it. There's a lot in here, although I do not see that specific answer. So I'll get an answer to that for you, Will, and find out. I do notice there's a couple of questions right now pending. One is, can you transfer to a schedule to another tech without alerting the client, or do you have to cancel it and add it again? So that's a fair question. I think that would be, I don't have a methodology to do that within TimeZest. However, and I imagine this could get goofy, but you can come into an individual calendar, into a meeting request, and simply change the member who's assigned. So I guess if you don't need to change the time, you could do that pretty simply. I think the challenge would be is if you have used custom attributes. So there's a Zoom link or a phone number for the individual they scheduled with. Because we're not notifying the client or having them trigger another request, how do we notify them that it's a new Zoom link or a new phone call? So kind of think through that process. That's the main issue there. Is you could easily have another resource schedule the service record or even change who it goes to. Your challenge is the client may have another problem in the sense that they'll be connecting to the original scheduled person. So I'm going to pause there again for just a minute and see if anybody, that's all the questions that were kind of stacked on us right now. Does anybody else have questions? Let me hit one other thing that I think is important to talk about. We have, as I mentioned, we had about 80 beta clients. We've got about 130, 140 clients who are active right now on the platform and growing. We drive all of the features I just walked through. All the features I just walked through here, and we're constantly developing and iterating. It's all driven through this pretty cool tool we found and integrated to our platform that manages our feature requests. So you can, our clients come in here, they build out ideas, things that they'd like to see within the platform. And we really push and ask for people to come in here and log their ideas. If they already see an idea that they're hugely supportive of, upvote it. And we build our roadmap based on these ideas. So you can see right at the top, Microsoft Teams integration. Teams is one of those platforms where I don't have my own personal permanent link. So our clients who are using Teams, the custom attributes didn't quite get them where they needed to go. It was a great feature for people using Zoom or WebEx, but Teams is a little more challenging. So that's high on our list. Scheduling requests is specific. There's a bunch of things. Sales opportunities and activities I want to talk about for a minute. We have a lot of requests for people to schedule out. Hey, I want to just be able to put it in my URL at the bottom of my signature and have people schedule against me. We are very close. It's on our near-term roadmap to build that out so that people can create a new ticket. You don't have to have an existing ticket, just a resource and an appointment type, and put it in anything you want, and we'll create a new ticket. That really sets the stage for us to also create activities. So if a salesperson is like, hey, click here, and it's a 30-minute activity, we're gonna have to collect a little more information because there's no source. We don't know who it is. And the reason that we don't have activities and opportunities in the platform today is ConnectWise doesn't allow a pod in an opportunity or activity. So we have no way of driving that today, but we're getting there. We're figuring that out. So that's a pretty thorough overview of what we're doing. We still have certainly a number of people on the webinar. Is there any other questions that I can answer for any of you, or Will, any thoughts you have?
Well, just if anybody wanted to try out TimeZest, how could they sign up for a trial?
Yeah, so real simply, if you just hop on our website, you can just click Get Started. So the nice thing on our website, it kind of tells the story of where we came from, why we started, some pretty good data there. One thing that I think I would mention is that the ROI calculator. I talked about, like, how many hours do people spend, even if it's a week per person, how many staff, what's their average annual salary. You're going to see the ROI. But if you click Try Get Started or Try TimeZest, it's going to take you to app.timezest.com, sign up. It's just that easy. sign up. It's a 2-week free trial. The integration piece to manage is the API member and setting up the pod. It's maybe a 3-4 minute exercise for a manage admin. It's very simple. And then it's really just through setting up the first couple things that you'd like to do within the admin portal, like setting up an appointment type, activating a couple members, unlimited 2 weeks. And then by all means, let us know if you have questions. We send out a pretty good amount of pretty good communications through that trial process to make sure you have what you need, but we're always available.
All right, anybody else have any other questions for me or Jameson? Going once, going twice, sold.
Oh,
All right, everybody, thank you so much for coming out for our initial industry speaker ConnectWise Tuesday. A big, huge thank you to Jameson for donating his time to us and coming to speak. If you have any other questions after the webinar, please feel to reach out via Facebook or email, and we'd be happy to help you.
Yeah, Will, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Thanks everybody for listening in, and be safe. And hopefully we'll get through this time pretty quickly and be back to normal. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.